friends, insane persons, and welcome to another episode of Wednesday Whimsy. My name is Kyle, and Wednesday Whimsy is a short show I do every Wednesday evening where I talk about a board game, a top 10 list, or some other board game related topic, whatever happens to be on my mind. So, I've been playing a lot of games lately, a lot of new games, a lot of, repeat games, a lot of complicated games, and one thing that I've kind of noticed is that there's really a series of games, not a series of games, but there are some games where the theme is really well integrated with the mechanisms, and that helps you when you're trying to teach, or I'll say in case of one game on the list, just learn the game. And so that's what I'm talking about today. This is my top 10 thematic teaches. Now, I'm sure I forgot something. It's a kind of weird list to go through. It's just something that I thought of as I was thinking of games where the theme is really well integrated into the mechanisms to the point where it is part of how I'm going to teach you the game, if you play it with me. Now, again, this is not my top 10 games. It's not my top 10 games with strong themes. It's not my top 10 thematic games. It's just my top 10 games where the theme is a part of the teach. Anyway, I don't know if that's a well-defined list. It's kind of a weird list to make anyway. But I'm going to tell you what they are, and we'll talk about them very briefly, and let's get going. All right, where are my numbers? Where are the numbers? Here we go. Let's go with number 10. My number 10 is a game that was recently reprinted. It's kind of a weird game because it's basically Hearts. This is a re-implementation of Hearts, and the game is called Rebel Princess. Rebel Princess, let me see if I can show the picture here. Come on, you should know how to do it by now. Rebel Princess is, as I mentioned, a trick-taking game. And in the game, you are going to be one of a number of various princesses, largely based on Disney, but there's some that are not Disney IPs. And these aren't their own kind of princesses. But basically, you are a princess, and you're happy as a well-adjusted woman, and do not want a prince to come in and marry you. And and you're going to a ball anyway. Okay, maybe you probably shouldn't have gone there if you weren't looking for a prince, but this is a non-English version. Anyway, but basically the way that the game works is you have your own special ability, but for the most part it's a trick-taking game. So you're going to be playing one of several suits, and then people are going to follow. Now, the sort of way that the theme creeps in is that the princes really want to get married, and they're going to come in and make marriage proposals as soon as they see you. And so the princes are not invited to the ball at all. And until, someone runs out of a suit, they have a void suit, and then they can play a prince at that point. And at that point, the princes have sneaked into the ball, and so they can now be led as a main suit. I mean, it's a stupid theme, but like I said, it's thematic Hearts. Now, you're going to play a few rounds, and each round is going to have its own kind of special rule. And there's also kind of the really funny one is there's this frog prince, and the frog prince looks like a pet. He's from the pet suit, but there he is. But you'll see that he's actually a prince in disguise, and he's worth more marriage proposals than anything else. And the one other thing you can do is if you wanted to shoot the moon, you can be the rebel of the ball and try and get all of the princes and the frog prince. And if you do that, then it's where I think you get a negative 10-point score for the round. Anyway, that's kind of how it works. The theme is well integrated into these mechanisms, even though, again, it's largely just Hearts. But I'm always going to teach it with that theme in mind. And that's kind of the first one I thought of for this list, because that's kind of what I want this list to be. Anyway, there you go. That's my number 10, Rebel Princess. Let's go on now to my number 9. My number 9 is one that has been on my mind mostly because the company that makes it has been incessantly marketing it for the last several months. They have been talking about their Kickstarter. I mean, it's it's kind of ridiculous. Who cares about when something's going on a Kickstarter? But the game is a really good one, a Viking themed game, sort of a worker placement game from 2015, and it's coming out now with its 10th anniversary edition, and that game is Champions of Midgard. So in Champions of Midgard, you are a Viking clan, I guess, and you are gathering up your Vikings, and you're going to, you're building up ships, and then you're going to take the ships and go on an adventure, and you're going to take your food, and you're going to take your warriors, and then you're going to send them into battle against these various monsters. And, basically what you're doing is rolling dice, right? You're gathering dice and then rolling them. But it's a fun game to sort of let the thematic nature of what you're supposed to be doing come in and take over as you're teaching it and as you're explaining it. You're not gathering dice, you're gathering Viking warriors, and you're going on this quest and look at these monsters that you're going to be defeating, and that's kind of how it is. Anyway, the game's really good too. I don't know. I'll tell you, the new edition has a very hefty price tag. I'm not sure if it's worth that, but the game is itself a lot of fun, especially with its expansions, which allows you to go after these big mountain creatures or collect the souls of your fallen warriors and send them to Valhalla. Whatever you're doing with them, it's going to be thematic. It's going to be a lot of fun. That's my number 9, Champions of Midgard. Let's go to my number 8. My number 8 is a newer game, and it's one that I haven't actually, I've been meaning to do an episode about for a while. It was one that I wasn't entirely certain that I wanted to play because it didn't look all that good. I mean, I looked at the cover was kind of blue, and I went on the Dice Tower cruise, and my friend Victor really wanted to play it and kept saying, hey, you should learn the rules. And I said, well, you can learn them. Anyway, the game, however, is a great thematic racing sort of smash 'em up game, and that game is Joyride, Survival of the Fastest. If we look at it here, in this game, when you're teaching the game, everything about it really is theme forward. You are going to sort of talk about how you're shifting and how you're turning and how, by going faster in a higher gear, you're going to be going first. And when you slam into someone, you're going to really do what makes thematic sense, and they're going to move kind of in the direction that you hit them. And then you're going to drive over these things and kind of video game style pick up these various items that you can then use, like, shoot this rocket or drop this oil slick. And if you're wondering how something works in the game, typically it works exactly as you would think it would thematically within how the game works. And I think that's a lot of fun. I mean, many racing games, actually, they tend to be more thematic than anything else, than many other games, because you really are racing. You're not driving a car, but it's usually going around a track. In this game, it's one of the fastest, most fun racing games out there. It never really slows down to this crawl. Your turns are super fast, too. There's a bunch of other expansions you can add in that have random monsters that are going to romp around the board. But on the whole, Joyride is just a really fun thematic game, and a game where, you're going to get right into this sort of a demolition derby type of a theme right from the start, or whatever weird theme you're on. If you're on the volcano, for whatever reason you're there, all the rules, the theme really helps keep them going, and that is my number 8, Joyride. Let's go on to my number 7. All right, number 7 is actually, it's kind of a cheat because it's 2 games, and I'm going to put the newer one on here, just because it's new. But both of them, oh well, I guess maybe I'm doing the other one. The game is called Endeavor, and whether you pick Endeavor Deep Sea or Endeavor Age of Sail, it doesn't really matter. They're largely the same game. It's just, it's packaged a little bit differently. But I guess the theme is a little bit stronger in Deep Sea. But everything you're really doing in this game is all about this theme of exploring the deep sea. So, each round you're hiring a new crew member. And then, if you didn't pay your crew members, they're not going to be able to work for you this round. And you're sort of building up your submarine skills so that you can go faster and go deeper. And the different actions you're taking, right? You're conserving these dolphins, or you're building an orca pen, or you're doing any number of kind of weird oceany type things. And then, if you go with deep sea, there's also these different scenarios where, you're trying to clean up an oil spill, or you're trying to investigate, I guess, a star that fell into the ocean. It's never been quite clear, but the different actions you're taking are representing those sort of your investigations or your contributions to those various bonuses. And as you're teaching the game, you're really going to be talking about it in terms of, yeah, you're piloting, yeah, you're diving for treasure, yeah, you're sending a sonar down to your sonar. What does that do? It helps you find what's lower down in the ocean. It's a great game anyway, and the theme really helps you to kind of internalize the rules. The other one, Endeavor Age of Sail, is a historical theme, and I think I might like it better. But this one is, but it has some weird concepts of abolishing slavery and that kind of thing. And there's some weird rules about, keeping certain numbers of cards, but I think the theme might even be a little stronger there. Anyway, I like both of them though. It's a great system, and Endeavor, just call it Deep Sea for this list, but both of them are great. That's my number 7. Let's go on to my number 6. All right, number 6 is the one I mentioned earlier when I said one of these games I'll never teach. um, and the reason I won't ever teach it is because it's a solo game, and that game is Final Girl. Final Girl. So with Final Girl, this is a game that simulates one of a number of horror movies, and you are the kind of final girl survivor at the end of the movie, and you're trying to vanquish the killer. And everything you're doing in this game is driven around the theme of this particular horror movie, whichever scenario you happen to be playing. For example, as you get more afraid, well, what does that do? That makes you a little bit weaker. You're not able to take as strong of turns, but as you calm yourself and gather yourself, you're going to be able to roll more dice. Or as the killer gets sort of on his last leg, you're excited to kind of finish him off. And so you have that adrenaline rush, or you might be on your last leg. And you get that rush, and things are going to get, the killer's going to, his bloodlust is going to climb as he kills people, because that's what killers do. You might, all of the different events around, well, this is the camp, but there's a bunch of different scenarios. They're all going to be thematically integrated. The different action cards that you play, everything you're doing is driven by this horror movie theme of advancing this plot, this usually familiar plot for fans of those movies. And I find it really helps as a solo game. It really helps you to remember the rules. And in fact, if ever there's a rules dispute, one of the ways that you're able to resolve that dispute is by picking what makes the most thematic sense. Anyway, that's my number 6, Final Girl. Let's go on to number 5. My number 5 is a game that is a little bit older, but the theme is so not pasted on. This is a game where everything about, I remember, this is a game I played a lot when I lived in Budapest. Like I said, it's a little older, and that game is Agricola. In Agricola, you are a farmer, a subsistence farmer in the 1400s, and you are trying to avoid starvation and build yourself a house and build yourself a farm so that you don't have to starve to death. And all of the different actions you're taking are in line with that. For example, as you have a bigger family, well, you can put your kids to work so that you can get more done. Or you know, as you if you starve, you don't have enough food to eat. Well, you're going to starve and have to go begging and take negative points. There's just a lot going on here, and everything really works together. I don't know why I'm showing that picture. These are upgraded components, definitely, but but everything about this is sort of bringing forth the idea of subsistence farming. The way that vegetables grow in your field and as you harvest them, the way that the animals multiply. All of that makes sense, and it's really it makes it an easier game to learn than it otherwise might be. So that is my number 5, an oldie but goodie, Agricola. Let's go on to number 4. My number 4 is not based on a movie. Yet. Yet. Every time it comes out, someone will mention a movie that it's totally not based on. Um, and I'm, of course, being a little facetious. This game is another oldie but goodie, and that is Last Will. In Last Will, you have got some money that your rich uncle left you, and you are trying to spend it because you're going to get more if you show the executor of his estate that you really know how to live your life. And everything you're doing here is about wasting money, whether it be buying property, ruining it with loud parties, and then selling it low so that you lose money, or whether it be, taking your pets to dinner and paying people extra so that they don't so that they will ignore them and let them through. Everything about the game is all is all about this theme, and learning the rules is a snap because all the rules are going to be advancing this theme. It is a fantastically fun, silly game about wasting money, but it's a good one. That's my number 4, Last Will. Let's go to number 3. Trying to speed up here a little bit so this doesn't get too long. My number 3 is a new one. It's one of my top games from last year, and that game is SETI. SETI is a game, it's a heavy game, where you are trying to find life on other planets. And you are doing these various activities and actions that are trying to advance that goal. And as you're explaining the game, as you're teaching the game, you're really going to kind of get into what these actions are representing. You are sending out probes. You are sending satellites into orbit to search around these other planets. You're landing vehicles. There's flavor text on every card. There's the different actions really are designed to kind of help you find these aliens. And then when the aliens come out, they have their own theme too, and their theme is kind of integrated into their various mechanisms. SETI is a fantastic game. I've talked about it at length already, but I think you'll have a good time with it, and the theme really helps. Let's go to number 2. Hey. My number 2 is it's a really good game that is one that it gets better every time I play it. It gets better with age, you might say. This is the game about making whiskey, and that game is Distilled. Making whiskey is, of course, something I know very little about, but it feels like this game was made by a whiskey enthusiast, because not only is the theme sort of all throughout it, the mechanisms are very theme forward as well. And I learned about sort of taking out the tops and the tails, or the heads and the tails of the whiskey brew mash in order to make the different types of whiskey. I learned all about that as I was playing this game. And it's a very thematic game as you're gathering the ingredients, learning the recipes, taking a loan, with points, putting things into your distillery, into your cellar so that they can age, and then eventually finding out what they taste like. And you don't know what they're going to taste like until you open that barrel and try them. And it might taste like rubber, and it might taste like honey. And you're going to, of course, have different price expectations based upon how it tastes. It's a very thematic game. It's a lot of fun too, and it's a great mix of push your luck with sort of Euro game type mechanisms, and you can and risk management. It's a great game. My number 2, Distilled. And lastly, let's go to my number 1. All right, my number 1 is a game that I talked about very recently on an episode of Wednesday Whimsy. That is a new darling for me. A great game, and I won't talk about it a lot because you can go watch last week's episode, but this game is kind of the one that started me on this list, and that is Galactic Cruise. Oh, where's the banner? Galactic Cruise. With Galactic Cruise, you're running a cruise company, and everything about the game is designed to help you. Oh, that's a prototype version. I wonder why there's not a nice version. Well, there's nice versions somewhere. They're just not depicted today. Anyway, you are trying to run your cruise company and to make it succeed and to prepare to launch cruises. And if you embrace that theme, it's really going to help you with the teach. So, the cruise people want to go to, they're going to pay more for. And when you don't have room for people, they're going to get in the end of the line and complain. And there's a nice version of it somewhere, but apparently all these pictures are of the old version. And as you build the cruise ship, right, you've got to have enough oxygen, you've got to have enough food, you've got to have enough fuel, and all those things make sense. In sort of, if you explain why you need certain things, it makes them very easy to remember. Once you learn the theme for this game, all the mechanisms fall into place. It is a fantastic game and a very thematic teach. That is my number 1, Galactic Cruise. And that will do it for this episode of Wednesday Whimsy. Gone a little longer than I'd hoped, but that's all right. I got excited about some of these games that I don't talk about very often, and some that I do. What are the games that you find the theme is going to help you teach? It'd be interesting to know. I might do another list of this because I came up with easily 30 games, but these are the ones I selected to talk about today. Anyway, I'm going to end it here, and I'm going to wish you safe travels, courage when you need it, and I hope to see you back again next time for another episode of Wednesday Whimsy. Bye-bye.